The proper human sexual eating, it's quite a long name, proper family values bill. If you remember, there was a court case that injected the speaker from forwarding it to the president, and also restrained the president from receiving the bill. Eventually that case was disposed of in December, I think on the 18th or something. Yeah, so it meant that the injunction had been cleared. But as far as I know, the bill did not get to the president for assent. And so the convention is that all bills that are not assented to before the expiration of the life of Parliament expire. And so that bill effectively is dead, it has expired. I don't know what the promoters of the bill intend to do, but I do think that we should have a conversation on it again, so that all of us, if we decide to move that bill forward, move it forward with a consensus. And probably it shouldn't be a private member's bill, it probably should be a government bill with government behind it after consultation with all the stakeholders to see how we're able to move this forward. But it leads us back to the discussion we had, that if we're teaching our values in school, we won't need to pass a bill to enforce, our family values. And that's why I think more than even the family values bill is us agreeing on a curriculum that inculcates these values into our children as they're growing up, so that we don't need to legislate it. And so we'll see how all this goes. And so I'm looking forward to this review conference so we can come to some consensus on some of these issues. I thought that it was important for me to meet you as president and tell you that I care about your concerns and what you're going through, and to say that we're going to work together with you to see how we can resolve the issues in the power sector. The first thing is for us to deal with the issue of the value chain, the whole power value chain. And that means that we must start from the downstream all the way upstream. There are issues to do with availability of gas, and so that's upstream, how we get the companies in that space to increase exploration and bring on more gas so that we eliminate the use of fossil fuels and achieve our dream of gas to power 100%, which will bring down the cost of generation. That's the first thing. And the next is to see how we can bring more efficiency in terms of your sector and the production of power, so that we can pass on any benefits to the Ghanaian people. But obviously, the bull in a china shop is Electricity Company of Ghana, the sick man of the power sector. I mean, you can't run an electricity utility and make 40% commercial and technical losses and continue to think that you have a viable business. And so something must give in that sector. And that's why I've said that we are looking at introducing private sector participation. If you remember, under the Millennium Challenge Compact, we had agreed that in the last portion of the distribution, billing, and metering, we're going to introduce private sector participation. And so I remember I signed the contract, eventually, the compact, and we started the whole process with improving the national grid with the bulk supply points, the BSPs, and all that. But there was also a component for private sector participation in billing and metering. And so the new government took over, and that's when the whole PDS saga happened. Even as irregular as PDS was and as inefficient as it was, I mean, when PDS came, you could see an increase in the revenue that was being collected. And so if we do it more transparently, more fairly, more competitively, I'm sure that we'll get an efficient partner to join us in terms of billing and metering, so that we can eliminate the huge losses that ECG is making. And so we're willing to take the bull by the horns and reform that sector of it, and also reform the governance in ECG so that it's running more efficiently than it does currently. The vexed issue of the National Cathedral. The Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice directed government to audit the project and investigate any misuse of public funds. Government is enjoined to follow this directive and will soon activate such an investigation into the project. But on the future of the project, the Cathedral, I believe that all of us as Christians must forge a consensus on how to achieve such a project without recourse to public funds. And this project must be achieved at a reasonable cost. In the current circumstances that Ghana is going through, it makes no sense to achieve such a project at a whopping sum of $400 million. I am informed that the National Ecumenical Center in Abuja, which is used by all Christian faith in Nigeria, was built at a cost of $30 million. I believe that we can reach a more reasonable figure for achieving such a project, and together we can raise the funding for it. Such a reconsideration of this project might even include changing the current site that was chosen for the project. I leave the rest to any such future consultation that we will have as the body of Christ. As leaders, we are called to serve with integrity and accountability. And Proverbs 29, verse 2 reminds us, and I quote, "When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice." As we speak, we have a challenge currently with feeding students in secondary schools, as the Ghana Education Service insisted that schools must reopen on the 3rd of January, contrary to the advice of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools. As a stopgap measure, I've asked the Chief of Staff to work with the Ghana Education Service to allocate and evacuate food that is currently held in warehouses in Thera, which this food was imported by the outgone government in response to the drought that occurred last year. But in this emergency, we need to use some of that food to feed our students so that education can continue.